Hey y'all, and welcome back to Heretics Bible Study. We're working our way down. I didn't know we were going to go in order, but we're going in order. Adam and Eve, Seth, Enos, Canaan. Number 4 on the list. In the book of Jubilees, in the Apocrypha, this is going to be Jubilees chapter 4, verse 11. In the 5th week of the 5th Jubilee, Seth took Azurah, his sister, to be his wife, and in the 4th year of the 6th week, she bore him Enoch. He began to call on the name of the Lord on the earth, and in the 7th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, Enoch took Naomi, to be his wife, his sister to be his wife, and she bore him a son in the 3rd year of the 5th week, and he called his name Kenan. Just like Enos is Enoch, and Enosh, and Moses is Moshesh, Canaan is Caine. Cain as in Cain and Abel. There are 4 men named Cain in Genesis. 3 of them antediluvian, 1 of them post. Among those 4, this is the second mention. And we could sort of think of it like a crossover. It sort of crosses over this genealogy. Kind of see, because we have Seth, so let's imagine Cain, the firstborn, out here, and then has Enoch, has Canaan, and then Lamech. Do you know whose Noah's brothers are? It's Jubal and Jabal and Tubal-Cain and Naaman is his sister. He took his sister to be his wife too. So it's sort of, we have Cain over here, and then we have Cain over here, and then she has a brother, right, named Tubal-Cain, and then her grandson, Noah's grandson, is named Canaan. So they're going to kind of have a continuous story throughout the Bible, just the way Joshua continues on through Jesus, and Saul becomes Paul. So in an instant, God's favor can be taken away, but also in an instant, it can be restored. Out of these 3, maybe 4 Canaans that we're looking at, we're focusing today on number 2. But we have to start with number 1, Cain the first. This Cain you know as the first murderer. He slains his brother Abel, and God marks him. Mark is an interesting letter. Did you know that's the meaning of the letter Tav, the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which I associate with the Fool card, which sort of is like, all right, as soon as you're marked with the cross. It's just canceled out. Forget it. It's canceled out. Which is why Cain the second, remember, this is a made-up, make-believe, not biblical at all. Cain the second, I have him in the Hyperborean age. Hyperborean. Am I saying that word right? Hyperborean? Hyperborean. To the Greeks, it meant far north. To us in this day, it's more of, I saw it abbreviated, N for nadir or TH for threshold. It's either the boundaries or the limits. True north in your heart. So the reason we're going with this story is Cain, after he slew his brother. And in a lot of ways, okay, you have to think of it more like this. The city of Canaan, the people of Canaan, did you know they were the first agricultural community of record from about 10,000 to 15,000 BC?
No.
Okay, so, right, I know, it's kind of hard to picture, but they're the first agriculture. And when Cain murders his brother Abel, the agriculture lifestyle replaces that nomadic one. Egypt had said of their enemies at one time, how do you defeat a nation that carries their home on their backs? Because I think it was the Scythians. It might have been the Phoenicians, though, so I don't really know who they were talking about. But yeah, how do you defeat these people? Because we don't know where they stay. We can't attack them ever on their land. Where they are is where they are. Oh, light check. So Cain is cursed to be a restless wanderer, but also he's marked and he's absolutely atoned immediately. So where does this restless wanderer go? He built his city for his son Enoch. And then Enoch says Enoch, but who is who? Is this some kind of naming convention? Is this my son and your daughter got together for the very first time? And, so your son is my son. And your daughter's my daughter, We're family. This makes us like more family than family. Look how together we are. Look how together we are. The agriculture and the pen, because that's what Seth was. Seth was the pen. He was the scribe. But also, we're going to see him take place here in the next variation of Cain. Because like I said, I've got this Cain associated with the Hyperborean age, which is Conan the barbarian. And Conan is another way of saying Canaan. Because remember, vowels are suggestions.
What?
Yeah, that's a good question, Justin. Vowels are suggestions. Ancient Hebrew was written without vowels, without spaces, without cases, uppercase or lowercase. There's a few anomalies through the Hebrew text. But right now, well, every letter sort of is an anomaly. But so to go from Cain to Canaan to Conan is not really that big of a stretch, because we don't know how ancient Hebrew sounded. And Cain would be the letters Kaf or Quaf and none. Maybe a yod's in there. Like Quaf. So, have you seen these in writing? Okay, I didn't think so. Plus, how exactly do you translate Hebrew into English? So there's a lot. It's not really that big of a stretch to go to Conan. So the author of Conan. So Conan the Barbarian was written by Robert Howard in the 1930s. And it kind of fits into the pop theology that we were talking about with Wonder Woman back in the Quantum Grammar series. But again, it's like we have this universal, unison, future memory. Like all of us are sort of remembering and accessing the same things at the same times, maybe, but in different ways. Yet everybody all explaining the God, the source, as we know it, and as we know it's not. You're looking at me funny. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because you know how God says, every man is created in the image of God. I little I. I am a little bit of God. In fact, the Greek I is an iota. It's a little bit. I am a little bit of God. And God is like made up of me. So like a diamond, you know how a diamond has all these cool facets cut into it? Like every facet is a person making up like the totality of God. That's sort of how I see it. I don't know. Does anyone really know? I don't know. Let's get back to Cain and Abel. Now, in second generation, Conan, we're calling him Conan, and this is the Hyperborean age, which is up north, finding the true north, finding atonement within. This is a place where they described it as beautiful and peaceful. It was an area that enjoyed lots of sunshine. According to Pindar, Hercules got the olive tree from them. Hesiod wrote the first account about Mother Gaia went north. Not sure what that note was. But again, this is the Hyperborean age, which means far north, and like you have Lemuria, Tartaria, Argotha, Shangri-La, Pangaea. And again, it's antediluvian. So right now we have like 4 continents in a circle. You've seen those maps where it's just like that. And then the flood comes and everything sort of evens out, right? And it becomes one supercontinent. And Noah lands on this supercontinent. And then a few generations later, the Bible says that the land split apart. So now it splits apart again, and that's kind of how we know it or understand it now. But it's still changing. Just like you are still growing and changing. Especially the more pollution that is thrown on her, than the more... Where did all this shit come from? The industrial age. Yay, trash. What the fuck were we thinking? Why are we doing this? Did you see how the sun just came out? Oh. Okay, and also their god was Apollo. And Apollo has an association with Horus. And Horus is the son of Osiris, who a lot of people say is Cain the elder. And then the evidence for this, Osiris. Cain is Osiris. And Osiris is daddy to Horus. And Horus is like the Apollo, the sun god of Greek myth. Excuse me. So now in Egyptian myth, Cain as Osiris, Abel's out of it, right? No more Abel. But here comes Set. And Set is jealous and angry of his brother Osiris and murders him twice.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you heard me.
Yeah, but can you repeat it?
He kills him twice. First time he kills him, Osiris's old lady, Isis, is able to bring him back, resurrect him. So the second time Set kills him, he also dismembers him in what I believe is a Mandela effect, because I know that when I was little, I heard 13 pieces, and 13 pieces makes sense. 14 does not make sense. 14 is what they say now, that Set distributed his body in 14 pieces. But that just doesn't seem right, okay? Because count with me. Here's one cut. That gives me 2 pieces, my head and the rest of my body.
Yeah.
This is so gruesome. Now take off each arm. Okay, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, each leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank you. At the elbow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At the knees. 10. At the hands. 12. All right. Number 13 was the phallus. And this might be where circumcision comes from, y'all. Number 13 was the phallus. What is the 14th part? What would be the 14th? How that you would just let it go? Was there not something poetic and justifiable about the fact that he took the right hand or the left hand or the ear or the eye? What singular thing did he take after the phallus?
I don't know.
See, it doesn't quite make sense. Why would there be 14? Why is it 14 pieces and not 13 anymore? I remember 13 from when I was a kid. Anyway, it's really interesting because you have the 13-14 discussion, and earlier we were talking about how many Cains are there? 3, 4. And when we were talking about how many brothers are there one? Is there 1, 2, 3? What was the pattern? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. All about twins and triplets. But then we see this pattern again when we talk about the sons of Jacob, or the children of Jacob. He has 12. He has 12 sons. But then, oh no, Joseph goes away, so he only has 11. But wait, you forgot Dinah. Are you not going to count Dinah? Surely she counts. Yes, he has 12, so he had 13 all along is what you're saying. But now one is missing, so you're right, there's 12. Like, what is this math going on here? And then Cain continues the conversation or the count with we go from 1, 2, 3s to, is it 3 or is it 4? And then also in our metaphysical counting, when 4 appears, 4 through 9 all appear at the same time. Just like after the flood, Canaan is both a person who is, the son of Ham and the grandson of Noah. And at the same time, his descendants who live on the land and bear his name, taking the name from Ham's son who Noah cursed. The Israelites never fully defeat them. And there's probably still factions and tribes to this day. And if they know their heritage, they're certainly going to claim it because, again, they are the one. If you're descended from Cain, you're descended from the one family that we know biblically was antediluvian.
What does that mean?
Before the flood. Yes. Otherwise you're part of everybody who descends from Noah. So Cain is really like Cain crossing over, like doing that little loop-de-loop there, and then surviving through the ark because, his sister and brother are on the ark. Noah took all his sons. We know the giant Og held on for dear life. So, those boys didn't learn everything from their uncles. Of course they did. If not, his sister, and even though they're told before every situation, hey, I need you to flee, go and get all this shit from your neighbors. Go get the gold, go get the silver. I need 7 of every clean animal and 2 of every unclean, and go and get it. Get everything that you can get. Of course, that includes knowledge. The watchers were sent here to instruct. We also see the most obvious is the alphabet, the color purple. They're known, the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, they're known as the sea people. They survived. They survived the flood. They're known as the sea people. Right? The knowledge survived. And remember, Tyre is a Phoenician city, which is Canaanite. There were 2 men from Tyre that helped build Solomon's temple. So they were more involved in the process than the Israelites. Here again, like, sweeping back in to sort of save the day. All right, we got you. Which brings us to another interesting point. Okay, when we think of Cain, we always think of him being cursed, right? But do you know that he got his name because when his mother saw him, she said, I have acquired an asset from the Lord. His brother Abel means breath. These indicate assets real and intangible. You know how we always talk about the Bible has to do with banking instruments and banking laws of equity. Here, we have it right at the beginning. And then you have Seth, again, the scribe. So the scribe can make you or break you. And a pen is penis, phallus, bringing us full circle with Set or Seth. The only difference is an H. When we see an H appear in Abraham's name, he becomes Abraham. When we see an H appear in Sarai's name, she becomes Sarah. We know that God has personally become involved in those lives. Same thing with Set. Even though we see in the Conan books, in the Hyperborean age, the temple of Set, because of his daddy Typhon and the gods overlapping, that endures, but it's a very, very small cult, which, again, to this day endures through Michael Aquino and his legacy. And then just to remind us that it is relevant. We've talked a whole lot about the word Bereshit and how the Gospel of John is the one that's unique because it starts not with Jesus's earthly genealogy, but with this metaphysical, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. In the beginning, a phrase in Hebrew, which is Bereshit. That was a word puzzle. Bereshit. Bereshit was the word in the beginning. In the beginning, Bereshit was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. The word Bereshit. The Gospel of John also mentions the wedding at Cana. Mentions Canaan. It's mentioned 4 times in the Gospel of John. John 2, verses 1 through 11, chapter 4, verses 36 through 54, and 21, 2. And nowhere else in Scripture. 4 times. How many Cains have we been talking about? 3, maybe 4? There's 4 mentions in the Gospel of John. Curious. So we're seeing, we're seeing the genealogy build out again. Curiouser. Indeed. So obviously there's so many more stories that we can talk about. But this is 25 minutes, so it's probably enough for now. So thank you for joining me here on Heretics Bible Study, and peace out.